What do we wish that we knew when we actually started this property journey?
Why should I go for this property instead of this property?
Looking at this particular property and this particular area, please do not over-invest.
So now when you look at a property, it's not about the rental income that will determine that am I buying this property or not. You are saving, you're saving a lot. Now the challenge about that is that at what cost?
Hey there!
Hello everybody, you are tuned into Normal. My name is Nell.
And my name is Lebu. Today we are actually going to speak about what do we wish that we knew when we actually started this property journey.
Wait, before we even get there, let's talk about next year, man. Briefly next year. Next year we're having a launch, a business launch on the 30th of January. You need to save that date. It's a must that you save the date.
If you actually want to inquire, please do send an email at propertyevents@nongwealth.co.za. We'll just put it here, just below the screen. So, with that being said, now, tell us, what do you wish that you knew before you actually started your property journey?
Just to lay out my cards, I wish I knew that with property investing, there is a science behind. What am I talking when I'm saying the science behind? The business behind property investing. What makes property X better than property Y? Why should I go for this property instead of this property? Because now the general perception of property investing is that with rental, you just need a house, then get a tenant, then that's property investing. Or with flip, I buy below market value, and then sell high. But then only to find out that there's mathematics behind, there's decision making, there's so many things that happens behind the scenes. And that is when you're treating property as a business. Because don't forget, Lewe, I've noticed this, that even within the years, like when you see different investment portfolios, one investment portfolio will be better than the other. So now when you start having that eye of why is this property better than the other property? And of course, I'm not saying that every time you need to find that best property on Property 24. That means you're going to spend days, if not months, if not a year, finding that property. So you need to actually find that healthy balance whereby you're not just getting into the market. However, there's a reason why you're buying an X property. And the reason is definitely not the jacuzzi. The reason is also not the fact that it has 20 rooms. However, the return on investment, that's what pushes us as property investors. So that once I buy into this property, I know that my cash flow will be running for me.
Most definitely. So now at NongWealth, we always talk about buying property as an investment and as a business, right? So now when we're looking at a business, let's just take, for example, right? Indulge me for a second. Let's just take selling a suite, for example, right? When you're going to buy a suite, we already know how much you're actually going to buy the suite for. When you're going to sell the suite, we already know how much you're going to sell the suite for. We already know what our costs are going to be if we're going to get a person to actually sell these suites for us. Same thing applies within property. Before we actually buy the particular property, we need to know what's that price point that we actually need to buy the property at. Before we even sell the property, we also need to know that how much are we actually going to sell the property at for us not to actually break even or make that particular profit that we're actually looking for. So now when you're speaking about property as a business, we are speaking about knowing all of your expenses before you even go into the property. So now this is where your power team is actually going to come in. So now your construction guys will be the one that will actually tell you that, okay, this is how much you need to actually spend for your property in terms of fixing it up. Your estate agents will also come in and then tell you that, okay, looking at this particular property and this particular area, please do not over-invest, because now there's something that's called over-investing. Over-investing is like making a triple story in a market whereby you can only sell your property for 500,000. I think for you, it will also be unfair for building that triple story only to find out that the most that you can sell your property for, it's actually 200,000. That would be bad. So now, those are some things that you actually have to keep in mind when you're doing it as a business.
I mean, looking at it, when we talk about looking at it as a business, is that I've seen that even with regards to the rental income. So now when you look at a property, it's not about the rental income that will determine that am I buying this property or not. For instance, if somebody does approach me and say, you know what, I've got the best deal, the rental potential, we're looking at 50K. We are looking at it as a business is rather how much am I left with after? Because that's going to determine firstly my cash flow. That's also going to determine how do I grow my portfolio if I'm solely dependent on that income. Because now if I'm solely dependent on income from my properties, and then my net is not reaching the X amount, it will be hard to actually grow. I remember that one of the videos we actually posted, why do I feel stuck in my property journey? So sometimes you do find yourself that you bought a property, however now the cash flow, the money that's remaining is not so much, and now going to the next property is actually hard because you're going to ask yourself, how do I grow? Even with financial freedom, if you're not having that strategy, it's going to be quite hard to actually gain your financial independence with property investing. So now you can see that there's so much that actually happens behind the office. It's not that thing of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm buying this property. No. There's a lot happening, because as I did mention, the most important thing is how much am I left with after all my expenses? Or even if you're playing the equity game, what price am I buying it at? So now you can see that there's a lot of factors that actually contribute towards, are we buying this property or not? That is my input with regards to what I wish I knew before property. But hey, we still know it now, and now you know it, so we can take advantage of this, man.
Okay, so now what I used to do, I used to be a DIY person. Do it yourself, right? I'm sure you are also guilty of this, right? So now what I used to do is that I would say that, you know what? We don't have to pay a conveyancer. Let's just go into the net, type lease agreement, and then get a lease agreement from the net. That could probably actually work for our tenants. So now we don't have to take out that money to pay our conveyancer. Only to find out that there might be a little bit of mistakes or things that are not included in that particular contract that you would have wanted to be included in that particular contract. Because I know with some guys, they're not really sure about that particular tenant. Therefore, they sign a month-to-month agreement, right? So now what would then happen is that if you have actually signed, if that contract said that that person can be in that particular property for the next 5 years and you want them out within the next month, that becomes a problem for you. So now that's why it's always important to actually have a conveyancer that you can actually pay to give you a contract that you actually want. So now at DIY, guys, please stay away from the DIY. Even painting. I know with the last video that we did, we were actually painting ourselves. But now get someone that will actually do the job professionally so that you don't actually have to stress about the little things that you are actually going to be doing in that particular property.
True, man. I mean, when you're saying that, what came to my mind is that Lebu was Mr. Octopus. So he had all his tentacles everywhere. Now the challenge about that, the good thing about that is that you're saving a lot. Now the challenge about that is that at what cost? Because now if you're doing everything by yourself, that means you know that with regards to time, you can't do other important factors that will impact your business. If you're doing it yourself, that means you compromise on the quality, because of course when you are looking at, you know what, with this type of lease agreement, if I do it myself, I'm gonna get it done, and then only to find out that there's so many laws that you do not know as a property investor. So now it's very important to surround yourself with a power team. Hence, we're always saying that once you start surrounding yourself with a power team, you don't become the expert of everything. You don't become a lawyer, you don't become an accountant, you don't become a construction person. You rely on these individuals so that they can add massive value towards your property journey. And that's where you'd like to find yourself, especially as a beginner, because I know for sure that it can be overwhelming. Guys, if you are a property investor, or if you're still in the beginning phase and then you're quite scared that, you know what, I'm quite scared, like what if I buy a property and I don't get any tenants? Or what if I buy a property and I can't actually build it towards what I'm thinking? Hit a pro below, because I truly feel that a lot of people can relate. And once you start surrounding yourself with that power team, that's when you can relax, that's when you can breathe. Hence Lebu's breathing today. Hence Lebu's breathing today, because it removes the stress. Trust me, the stress is so much, you can actually go to a point whereby, you know what, property investing is not for me. Only because you tried doing everything yourself. But now it's very important to surround yourself with a power team, to get yourself a team.
Most definitely. So now, please don't forget the event that we will actually be doing. If you can actually support us, please do share this message. We are actually doing a business launch on the 30th of January 2021. But with your bookings, please make sure that you do RSVP, because we can only take 50 people. So now please do book as soon as possible. Remember, it's propertyevents@normal.co.za.
If it was up to me, I was going to say 5,000 or 50,000, but because Lewood decided on 50, Man, what can we do, man? See you there, guys. We're looking forward to seeing you there. We're looking forward to adding massive value towards your journey.
Young Wealth.
Signing out.